Welcome to the first video of tasks in Scala. In this video series, we're going to look at all the basic concepts of Scala, and after each video you will be able to perform a task. So I will first explain to you what the task is, then talk about the concepts in Scala that you will need to know and give you an example of a similar task. I'm going to show you the website where I'm working on. It's scasti.scala-lang.org. It's really easy because then you don't have to install anything that has to do with Scala, and we can just get going really fast. You can log in. I'm logged in with GitHub, and then you can also save your code snippets, so that's really cool. What we're going to use for now is this is the area where we write the code. This is the console where we can see some printed info. I will show you that later. And then this is the save and run button. So this is what actually executes the code that we're going to write here. Okay, so let's just get started. The task of the day, which you are going to do after this video, is to convert any number of days into the corresponding number of minutes. So I give you an amount of days, for example, 1 day, and then you are able to say, well, that's 1,440 minutes. And then 2 days is twice that amount. And if I would give you 300 days, it would be 432,000 hours. So let's get started. I would definitely suggest that you write along so you get a feel of the language and the concepts are more stuck in your head. We're going to start with values in Scala. So for example, I'm going to create a value that is called a val, and it has a type int, that is short for integer. And I'm going to give this value the number 5. We can see that this val is a keyword in Scala. This is the name of this value. This is the type, and I gave it the value of 5. Now we can check that this is actually assigned correctly by printing it to the console. If I say print line, and whatever I put in here, it's going to be printed here in this console. So we can just check it for this value. We save and run, and boom, it says 5. So that's great. Now we can create another number, which is also going to be an int, and this time it's going to be 3. And then we can do fun things with that, like for example, we're going to create the sum of these two numbers. Sum of numbers. And then we can just add them together. Another number, and we can print this to check as well. Let's run this. Now first it will print 5, and then it will print the sum of numbers, which should be 3 plus 5 is 8. So that is correct. Okay. So those are the basics we're looking at right now. What is a value? And I'm gonna copy a similar task to your task, which we are going to look at right now. This is the task we're gonna see in this video. Convert any number of years into the corresponding amount of hours. So for example, my age is 31 years. How many hours old am I? I thought that was fun. So, very important, you have to split up the task, right? So the first step is, how many hours do we have in 1 year? Well, then we get a certain answer from that. It would be X hours. And then the second step is, if I give you Y years, we know that the answer is going to be X times Y, and that is the amount of hours. So this is crucial when you're programming. You have to try to divide up bigger tasks into smaller tasks, and then solve the smaller steps and get to the final answer like that. So, okay, we're going to start with step number 1. How many hours do we have in 1 year? So we are going to look first at how many days do we have in a year, and we're only going to look at the situation 365 just to make it easy. And we also know how many hours we have in 1 day. That's 24. Now note that up here I always wrote down the type of this value, and here I didn't do that. That is because the Scala compiler. The compiler is the part that interprets the code and then converts it into something that can actually be executed. The Scala compiler can infer what the type is. So this is actually equivalent to writing this, okay? So now I was just being a little bit lazy and I just didn't write it down, but you can definitely do it if you want to make it more clear what type you're talking about. You just add it like this. Okay, so I have those two numbers. Now with those two numbers, I can determine how many hours we have in a year. So we just multiply the two. Let's see if I didn't make a typo. And let's just print that. Hours in a year. Let's print it to see what the answer is. 8,760. That's cool. So in 1 year we have 8,760 hours. And now we're going to create a function. What we've seen until now, the values, that is all static data, right? We just give it one value and that's it. But what we're needing right now is a function because we need dynamic data. So what we need is to be able to give an amount of years. So for example, my age, then do some calculation and then get the correct answer. And that is a dynamic answer, of course, because it depends on what your age is. So we're going to define a function. We do it as follows. You say def, then you say the name of the function, which is going to be get hours for age. I wrote down of age, but it's for age. And then what we give to the function as an input is going to be an age, which is of type integer. We have to write down the type here. And the result is also going to be an integer. So we write it down like this. And then between these curly brackets, we're going to put the code that is actually going to calculate and give us the answer. So this would be step 2. Given the amount of years, we know that the answer is x times y, correct? So we have x over here and y over here. So this is really easy. We just say hours and years times age. And that is the answer. And this is what it will return. So we can actually call the function. That means that we're gonna give something as an input to the function and see what it does. And we're gonna store the results. So let's see, what is my age in hours? I'm very curious. Get hours for age 31. And let's print this result. Okay. 271,560 hours. Wow. That's 250,000 hours in my age. Cool. Okay, so we can just do some more tests. A teen's age in hours, for example. Then we're going to get the hours, for example, for someone who's 16 years old. A teen's age in hours. We're just going to print that to the console to see what it is. 140,160 hours. And finally, an elder's age in hours. I'm curious. Get hours for age, for example, someone who's 78. And let's print this again. $680,000. That's interesting. I thought that it would get to closer to 1,000,000, but of course I didn't calculate very correctly that how close I am to 78. Okay, so what we've seen in this first video are values. So a value is defined like this, with a keyword in Scala, then the name of the value, the type of the value, and then you give it the actual value. And then the second thing that we looked at is a function, which you write down like this. You say def, this is the keyword in Scala for a function. Then you give it the name of the function. This is the input that we're actually giving to the function, which is age, and then of the type int. And here I wrote down what is the output type of the function. And then between the curly brackets, we just have the actual code body of the function where the actual magic is happening. So what we have to do here is multiply the hours in the year with the age. And it immediately returns it. You don't have to write, in some languages you have to write something like this, but you don't have to do that in Scala. So that's very convenient. Okay, so that is it for the first video. And remember that this is the task for you to perform right now. Convert any number of days into the corresponding number of minutes. And see you in the next one.